feel like, man, whatever you do wrong must come back around in a circle. Just like you know what I'm talking about? If you did wrong and everybody know it's blatant, the truth is out in the open. You sent that type of energy towards the young Dolph way, and you got no young Dolph knocked off. I talked to Govan. I did an interview with Hernandez Govan, the dude who set the whole supposedly, you know what I'm saying, Dolph murder up.
Have my life back.
What's the first thing you plan to do?
Go hug my son.
Mr. Govan, you haven't smiled all this week, but obviously you have a lot to smile about. Just tell me what you're feeling in right now.
Like I said, it's kind of hard to explain the feeling of getting your life back, you know.
I always felt like life moves in circles. Whatever energy you throw out is the same energy that finds its way back. If you do dirt, if you move grimy, especially in a city like Memphis, it never stays hidden. It comes back around, plain as day. That's why when we talk about what happened to young Dolph, it's not just about one man's tragedy. It's about cycles of beef, loyalty, betrayal, and how the wrong choices eventually return to haunt you. I spoke with Hernandez Govan, the man accused of orchestrating Dolph's murder. Sitting down with him, I asked the question everyone wanted to know: what's the first thing you plan to do now that you've been acquitted? His answer: go hug my son. Simple, but it hit deep. This man had been painted as a villain, as the mastermind of one of the city's darkest moments. And yet, when he walked free, all he wanted was his family. He said it himself. Getting his life back was hard to put into words. But while Govan might be walking, the shadows around CMG, Yo Gotti's label, are only growing darker. For years, people whispered about cracks in the empire. Quiet speculation that the family image wasn't as strong as it seemed. But now, those whispers are shouts. CMG looks like it's unraveling right in front of us. Stan G, one of the most plugged-in voices in Memphis, someone who has interviewed the very people tied to the Dolph case, sat down on No Jumper and said what most wouldn't dare. His words weren't just gossip. They were a warning. Yo Gotti might turn on his own artist, Black Youngsta. Think about that for a second. This isn't an internet troll stirring up drama. This is someone who's face-to-face with the streets, someone who understands how Memphis politics work. And if he's saying Youngsta should watch his back, people listen. On No Jumper, Stan G laid it out plain. The same energy Gotti put on Dolph is the energy that led to his death. And if Gotti was willing to go that far with an enemy, what makes anyone think he wouldn't sacrifice someone in his own camp when it benefits him? Stan G even called Black Youngsta a send-out, meaning he was the guy Gotti used to push the dirty work. The reckless beefs, the disrespectful videos, the wild moves that other rappers stayed away from. At first, that role made CMG buzz. It gave the label an edge. But now, with the Dolph case still haunting Memphis, Youngsta looks less like an asset and more like a problem. And in Gotti's world, problems don't last long. Stan G said it best: whatever you put out comes back. And right now, Gotti's choices are circling back on him and everyone around him. For a while, CMG looked untouchable. Moneybagg Yo was dominating the charts. Youngsta kept headlines alive with his antics. And then came Glorilla, who exploded almost overnight, becoming the label's golden child. From the outside, it looked like a family winning together. But the truth? That family bond is cracking. Moneybagg's momentum has slowed. Youngsta is no longer the energy machine he once was, and Gotti's focus is almost entirely on Glorilla. But even she carries heavy pressure because she's basically the last one keeping CMG afloat. Without her, the label's shine would dim instantly. And here's the thing. Yo Gotti is pushing Glorilla hard, pouring money and energy into her. But every other move he makes seems to bring heat. He signs artists tied to trouble, and before long, they're either locked up or under federal eyes. Even his own movements feel watched. That kind of pressure doesn't just fade. Meanwhile, Youngsta has been acting out in ways fans can't ignore. He removed CMG from his bio multiple times, posted cryptic captions that felt like shots, and then fell quiet. But right after that silence, Stan G's warning came. And suddenly, it wasn't just fans speculating. It was a clear sign something was going wrong inside the camp. To really understand how fragile this is, you have to go back to the beginning. None of this tension makes sense without looking at the young Dolph beef. Years ago, Gotti wanted Dolph under his wing. He tried to sign him, but Dolph refused. That moment changed everything. Gotti didn't just take the L and move on. He turned against Dolph, using his power to block moves and slow his rise. But instead of stopping him, it lit a fire under Dolph. He grew bigger, more independent, and the beef became personal. Diss tracks flew, the streets got tense, and right there, always on the front line, was Black Youngsta. Youngsta wasn't just rapping, he was pulling up in neighborhoods, flashing guns, dropping disrespectful videos, the kind of moves that weren't just reckless, they were dangerous. Stan G even called it federal moves, because it wasn't just rap beef anymore, it was bringing real heat down on himself and the label. So when Dolph was killed in Memphis, all eyes turned to CMG. Even if nothing was proven, the streets didn't need proof. In their eyes, CMG was guilty. And once your name is tied to something like that, it doesn't go away. That's the shadow hanging over CMG. That's why Youngsta no longer looks like the wild card. He looks like baggage, a constant reminder of a murder that still cuts deep. Once upon a time, Youngsta was seen as loyal, the soldier who would ride for CMG no matter what. He'd hop online, clown, flash money, and fans thought he was just being himself. But to people like Stan G, it was obvious. Youngsta was being used. A pawn, a sendout, someone Gotti could put in dangerous positions while he played the role of boss. And the scary part? That role has an expiration date. After Dolph's death, Youngsta's antics stopped being funny. They looked incriminating, dangerous, even suicidal for his career. Every time he pulled a stunt at a graveyard, every time he dropped a diss, it just tied his name deeper into Dolph's murder. Fans saw it, the streets saw it, and now even Youngsta seems to see it. He's gone quiet. No more antics. Stan G said it. He's in hide mode, which in street terms means he knows the block is hot and he's vulnerable. And in a world where liabilities get erased, that silence is scarier than the noise ever was. At the same time, Yo Gotti isn't ignoring the shots. Youngsta's rants about fake CEOs, fake brothers, fake love, those weren't random. Everyone knew who he was aiming at, and instead of ignoring it, Gotti responded with mafia-coded posts, Jay-Z intros, mob boss symbolism, subtle flexes of power to remind everyone who runs things. That's where it gets real, because in a mob-style structure, calling out the boss isn't just disrespect, it's betrayal. And betrayal doesn't end clean. After Dolph's death, CMG couldn't move the same. Big Juke, Gotti's brother, was questioned. Feds were watching. Every eye in Memphis was on them. And then, Hernandez Govan walks free, cleared of orchestrating the hit. To the streets, that wasn't closure. It was gasoline on an already burning fire. So the last thing Gotti needed was Youngsta out here making graveyard videos, trolling the city. What fans saw as reckless loyalty, Gotti saw as a business nightmare. And that's when the split between them became undeniable. Now CMG feels like a house of cards. Moneybags slowed down. 42 Doug got locked up. Youngsta's in hiding. And all the weight rests on Glorilla. But no empire survives on one soldier. That's why fans aren't asking, "Who's next to blow?" anymore. They're asking, "Who's next to fall out?" And here's the chilling part. Yo Gotti isn't just a rapper. He moves like a businessman, like a mob boss. He's got money, connections, and the kind of influence that goes way beyond music. When someone like that decides you're a liability, it's not just about being dropped from the label. It could mean your whole life changes. And Black Youngsta? He's unpredictable, emotional, reckless. The type of guy who doesn't fold quietly. That mix, Gotti's power and Youngsta's recklessness, is dangerous. If this war turns real, it won't just be about music. It could turn into another tragedy for Memphis. And that city has already bled too much. So let's be honest, CMG isn't just going through it. The empire is shaking. And with Stan G sounding the alarm, with Youngsta firing shots online, with Gotti doubling down on his mob boss image, the writing on the wall is clear. This isn't about if CMG is falling apart. The real question is, how far will Yo Gotti go to keep control?